No, it wasn't James.
It wasn't James.
I forgot his name.
You forgot which James done it. It was a James that done it, but which James wrote the book of James?
Probably wasn't Jesse James.
Well, it's generally believed that it was the James, the brother of Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, today we're going to go down there. Last week we talked about last week the patience, the trying of our faith, and how if we let patience work in our lives, how it would make our faith stronger, and how that patience develops. These lessons right here, right now, they're kind of like a word for the day, word of the day lesson, except the whole lesson is around one word. Let's read verse 5, and then we're going to look at some things there with verse 5, and then we'll work our way down from there.
Chapter 1, verse 5?
Chapter 1, verse 5. You want to read it?
If you need wisdom, ask our generous God, and He will give it to you. He will not rebuke you for asking.
All right, Alan, what does yours say?
If you need wisdom, if you want to know what God wants you to do, ask Him, and He will gladly tell you. He will not resent your asking.
And verse 5 in King James says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. Now, this little word, wisdom. Who among us here in Sunday school lacks wisdom? Does any of us lack wisdom? We got all the wisdom that we can use.
No.
What is wisdom anyway? Wisdom. What is wisdom? Wisdom is what?
To be wise.
Wisdom is how to use your knowledge and those things, right? It's how to do something, how to use something. If you learn, just to know something is just to know it, but wisdom is putting it into action, and wisdom is knowing how to accomplish things through your knowledge, with your knowledge and with your abilities, right? If you don't have wisdom, if you don't practice wisdom, you will never do anything, because you just sit there. You might learn the whole Bible, but if you're not working under wisdom, you won't apply it. So wisdom is an action verb telling us to do something, right? It gives us the ability to do something. I don't know the exact definition of it. You can probably guess.
That's what my little caption says at the bottom. It says, James is not only, James is talking not only about knowledge, but the ability to make wise decisions in difficult.
Yeah, it's doing something with the knowledge, right? Turn over.
I was reading my daily Bible reading this morning in Proverbs 3, 5, 6, and 7. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek His will in all you do, and He will direct your paths. And then when I was reading, I thought about minding your conversation last night. It says in 7, don't be impressed with your own wisdom. Instead, fear the Lord and turn your back on evil. Then you will gain renewed health and vitality.
Yeah, so don't lose your place there in Proverbs. We're going to go over there in just a few minutes. So you want to?
I was reading along this morning, and I was about to fall asleep, and I thought, wait a minute, we had that word last night.
Let's see, Job. Yeah, let's go to Job's first. Job is in 5:18. It's Job and then Psalms and then
What chapter in Job?
Job 8. Job 8. These paper thin, this real thin paper, you can turn a bunch of pages. You think you turn none, you turn a few, and you turn too many. Job 8 and 9. 8 verse 9. Buddy, you got that one? Yep.
For we are but of yesterday, and know nothing, because of our days upon earth are a shadow.
All right. And then what does Job 9:25? It'd be just probably on the next page, or it's the next chapter. What does it say?
Now my days are withered than a post, they flee away, they see no good.
All right. Now my days are swifter than a post. They flee away. They see no good. What does that tell us about life? What's going on with our life? Life is what?
Fast.
It's fast and short, isn't it? Don't last. You put a post in the ground. You know, they used to didn't have steel posts back in Joe's day, and in most of my day, they didn't have steel posts. You put a post in the ground. Depending on the type of wood that post was, in a few years you'll be out there digging another post hole, putting another post in there. So they rot away pretty fast. And that's what it's telling us here. We are but of yesterday. It's just like, boy, you know, we're here today and we're gone tomorrow. You know, and so life is pretty fast. So that does what to us? It limits us, don't it? Where our knowledge is limited, what we can learn, what we can do, what we can accomplish is limited. Now, what do we know about the future? We just talked about the weather a little bit. What do we know about the future? How much do we know about the future?
Not much.
We know what we think will happen,
Yeah, I don't know what.
based on what we've seen and heard, but
And over the Ecclesiastes, that's going to be right after Proverbs, so we're working over here. Who's doing a lot of this writing now? He didn't write Job, but who's doing a lot of this writing in Proverbs and Ecclesiastes? Who's doing some of this writing?
is that David?
No, it's not David. Someone closely related to David. Following David's advice. We'll read that in a minute. Chapter 8, verse 7 in Ecclesiastes. All right, Joey, you got that one?
What is it?
Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse 7. This is supposed to help us answer this question. What do we know about the future?
Indeed, how can people avoid what they don't know is going to happen?
For he knoweth not that which shall be, for who can tell him when it's going to be? Now, our weather is we got some of the finest weather technology there is, right? We can spot a storm that's starting over there on the other side of Alaska or whatever and trace it all the way down to here. Now, what do we really know about them? We can predict them as long as they stay on the path that they're on. They get off of that path that they're on, little wind blow a little hard, low pressure, all of a sudden move a little, something shift, then they change, right? So we ourselves don't know much about the future, do we? We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow in our lives. We don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now. And with all the plans we make, it's all a if. In front of if this don't happen, we'll do this. If it's so we just don't know much about the future. Now let's look at Ecclesiastes 9:12. Try to make these verses easy on us, so just probably turn the page. And all right, Alan, you got 9:12.
9:12. People can never predict when hard times might come. Like fish in a net or birds in a snare, people are often caught by sudden tragedy.
says in the King James, for man also knoweth not his time. As the fishes that are taken in an evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare, so are the sons of men snared in all evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them. What's he talking about there? What do we know of this evil when it will fall on us? What's he talking about? Last night on the way home, after the men's meeting, driving home, I go over there and make this turn on this road, and I look up the road, and here comes a car. It's got his lights on bright, and I'm looking, and this is a narrow road, one of them 28 feet roads that's only about 20 feet wide, and I'm looking up there, and that guy is coming my direction, and sure enough, he and I'm saying, whoa, and I pull over, and I get on the grass part of the road, and he's still coming my direction. I mean, we're not a quarter inch from at least pretty close, that close to a head-on collision. I mean, he's moving, and I'm moving, so it's getting there fast. And I managed to get over in the grass, and I heard this bang, and I thought, he hit my truck. And I stopped, and time I got stopped and looked up, he's gone. He done already left. But I hadn't got any dents, scrapes, or nothing on my truck. But I think he come on across and crossed right behind my back of my truck. It's that close, the length of my truck, and he hit something on my shoulder, and then he took off. Of course, I'm pretty sure he was drinking, because they've opened a new bar not far from there, and I'm pretty sure he'd been drinking, and he hit the side of that road, probably hit a tree limb or something. There's some brush there, but he took off. Time I got stopped, I couldn't see any tail lights, no nothing behind me. Now, just a split second of time difference, I'm in a straight-on, head-on car wreck. If the Lord doesn't protect me, wake me up and move me over. Just that split instant. So we don't know when we are going to be faced or have something bad happen to us. And so we don't know when that will hit us. Anything evil can happen to us. We can go to bed well and get up sick, and we don't have any way of knowing this. Now let's look at Ecclesiastes 11, verse 5. Just right there in the Autumn, you got that one?
Uh-huh. Just as you cannot understand the path of the wind or the mystery of a tiny baby growing in its mother's womb, so you cannot understand the activity of God, who does all things.
Now God understands all this. As thou knowest not what is the way of the Spirit, nor how the bones do grow in the womb. Now we kind of got enough technology now. We can see a baby growing in there, but we still can't tell why or how, can we? Even so, thou knowest not the works of God, who maketh all. So if we can't understand the works of God, He made us, fixed us where we could make others of us, but we can't understand all of that, how all that works. And our bodies are really complex, whatever you want to call them. Bodies? They're real complex, and we hadn't figured out everything with all the technology. We still hadn't figured out how our bodies works, right, and all the things that goes on in it. And they're tracing more of it, and they keep thinking we're getting closer. But I think the more we learn, the further we are away. It seems to me. So, but it says God, who maketh all. Now God made us. He made all the stuff. So, how much wisdom does God have?
He's all knowing.
He's all knowing. He knows how we work, and he knows how our hearts work and our bodies work. All right, let's look at what do that we don't know much.
Wired different than others.
Yeah, some of us are wired up a little different than others. Yeah, but see, God knows those mysteries, and we can't figure out those mysteries of life. All right, now what do we know about nature? Let's turn over to John 3:8. That little button right there, I bet I can find 3:8 faster. Told you we was going to talk about the weather today. All right, buddy, you got John 3:8?
3:8,
Yeah.
John?
Uh-huh.
Okay. The wind bloweth where it listens, and thou hearest the sound thereof, but canst not tell whence it comes and whither it goes. So is every one that is born of the Spirit.
All right, now, so we don't know much about nature. We can feel the wind blow when it hits us, and we hear it swooshing through the trees, whistling as it's going across the ground. But we really don't know that much about it even yet. And we got, even with all the technology and all of these things that we have that to tell us and all, to give us warnings of what's going to affect our lives. Like Joy said a while ago, something about this, if it don't change, we're going to have snow or something. But we don't know about these changes, but the Lord knows these changes. Now, in James chapter 5, it said, ask about wisdom. Turn back to Proverbs. Talked about, go to Proverbs 1. Now we're asking about wisdom. Now, it tells us to ask for wisdom, and God will give us an abundance of wisdom, right? He knows all things. So if we go to the source, that's what most of us don't do, is go to the source of wisdom. What I want you to do is read, we're just going to read one little part of Proverbs, but I want you to look at 5 or 6 chapters. It says, the Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. Now, who wrote the Proverbs?
Solomon.
And who is Solomon?
David's son and a king.
All right. So David gave Solomon some instructions, right? It says to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice and judgment and equity, to give subtlety to the simple, to the young man knowledge and direction. A wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto the wise counsels. Now, this is advice that King David gave King Solomon, his son, when he's transferred. Now, at the very top of that, my Bible says the use of the Proverbs, 7 exhortations to fear God and regard parents, wisdom, complaints of the contempt of scorners. Turn over chapter 2. Just look down at chapter 2. It says, wisdom promises godliness and direction to her children. That's that little caption in front of mine. Turn over to chapter 3. It says, exhortation to various duties, happy gain of wisdom. So wisdom if you get a lot of wisdom, these chapters are dealing with wisdom and different parts of it. And then chapter 4 says, Solomon to persuade obedience and show what instructions he had of his parents. So in chapter 4, he's listening to his parents and talking about his instructions. And then in chapter 6, it's talking about against suretyship. I don't know exactly what that, and idleness. 7 things hateful to God: blessings, obedience, mischief, of whoredom. That has to do with some life stuff. But chapter 7 says Solomon persuades to sincere familiarity with wisdom. So he's still talking about wisdom all through chapter 7. And this chapter 8 goes of wisdom, its excellency, riches, eternity. Still talking about wisdom. Chapter 9, discipline and doctrine of wisdom. It's chapter 10. I think it's through 9. I think it's 9 chapters that he's speaking mostly of wisdom and wise ways of doing things. So now, I just show you that to show that Solomon was one of the wisest, was considered the wisest king ever at that time, and probably still. And he was also the wealthiest. He did have one problem, though. He took on lots of wives and caused him lots of problems. And but the idea is God blessed him, but he punished him for his not doing things like he ought to have done in the wives department. And so, but God gave him wisdom, and he asked for wisdom. Like John says, ask for God's wisdom. Not just any wisdom, but ask for God's wisdom. Now, how do we ask? How do we ask?
For wisdom. Prayer.
Through prayer. How does God give wisdom? What does it say back in James 5?
Freely, generously, I believe it was.
Yeah. Liberally in the King James. He gives it liberally. But he don't force it on us, right? Yeah, it doesn't say that I'm going to give you this. It says you ask then, and remember in prayer we have to ask in the right way. If you're asking for wisdom for the wrong reasons, you probably ain't going to get the wisdom that you're going to need.
So he won't give us wisdom to hit the lottery?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think that's the type of
That's
wisdom.
not in the top 10,
yeah,
huh?
I don't think that's where you're going to chart out all them numbers. You're going to come up with the right combination. I don't think that's part of his wisdom. Now, wisdom to how to live and conduct yourself while you're doing such things, then that'll happen, and you probably won't be doing those things. Now, what is in King James it says?
There's one spot in there where it says the wicked has a short life, and
Which verse you looking at, buddy?
I don't know, I seen it here, running through here, when he was talking.
you had a wild thought, did you?
No, I seen it here somewhere.
WT, wild thought.
But it says something about the wicked has a shorter life or something.
If you live a wicked, what's considered wicked, if your life may and probably will be shortened if you're getting drunk driving down the road you're probably going to have a shorter life, than you are if you're not. What is this word upbraideth? In the King James in verse 5 it says, and upbraideth not. What is that word? I marked 2 scriptures. What does yours say for upbraideth there, Alan?
What verse was
In verse 5.
Verse 5, yeah.
Which word are you calling upbraided? That's what I'm trying to figure
It
out.
says, if any man lack wisdom, let him ask God and give to all men liberally. And then right after that says, and upbraideth not.
Mine says, ask him and he will gladly tell you.
And he doesn't mind.
He will not resent your asking.
He's not going to resent.
He won't get mad or won't get upset because you ask, is the way I would take it.
Yeah, that's what
Won't hold it against you, I guess. That would be resent, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and upbraideth not is to not resent you asking, like he's not too busy to hear you when you ask properly, and he's not going to get mad at you or he's going to give you what you're asking for. You just have to remember to ask him like we studied in the Lord's Prayer. Ask him in faith, humility, and sincerity. You can't just say, Lord, give me this. It's not that way. Just humble your heart to God's will and then ask in a proper way. Now verse 5 says, and upbraideth not. What does this mean concerning asking God for wisdom? Well, that we did it. Does God promise wisdom? Yes or no?
Yes. If we ask properly.
If we ask properly, and he will give us wisdom, and he won't give us more than we're capable of handling. Remember, God knows all, so he's not going to dump us. The other scriptures tell us he gives us according to what we're capable of handling. So he's going to reveal this wisdom a little at a time as we're able to handle it and use it. So if he gives us wisdom, then we put that to work in our lives. The more we understand on this little thing, he'll give us more to handle the bigger things, right? That's how he works. He don't give us 2 scoops when a tablespoon will do. If we can only digest in our minds and our abilities a tablespoon, well then he's not going to give us a corn scoop full. He's going to give us what we can handle. When we get that, then we're going to grow some more. And that seems so slow in our fast lifestyle today, but it's faster than the fast lifestyle because you're going to learn it. You're going to get the wisdom, the ability to use it, and instead of just chasing after something. And it's going to help you with when you ask him wisdom about your family, your husband, your wife, your children, you ask him for wisdom about your job, about church, about understanding the Bible, all the facets of life, you're asking God's wisdom concerning that. If he just dumped all that stuff on you at one time, you'd be like, whoa, you couldn't handle it. So he's going to give you wisdom, and you got to keep a little at a time as you can handle it. And as you mature and you grow in that little, he's going to add you some more. And pretty soon you're going to know a lot. And it's going to depend on how fast you develop what you're doing and how it's working. Now, let's read verse 6 and 7 and 8 and 9, 10 and 11. But let's just read them one at a time, and I think we can kind of pick up these verses without a lot of work. Verse 6 says, but let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. See, no doubting. For he that wavereth is like a wave in the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. See, the doubting. We don't want to. That's how we don't want to ask God doubting. He ain't going to give me wisdom to do this. No. Yes, ask in faith. God will supply me with what I need to do this. Okay? What does verse 7 say there, Alan?
People like that should not expect to receive anything from the Lord.
Like what? People like who?
Doubtful mind and unwavering mind.
All right.
They're asking, but they're not believing they'll get it.
Yeah, they're making an excuse to God. Well, God don't always answer his prayers. They're making some excuse for you. You've got to ask in faith. All right. Joy, number 8.
Their loyalty is divided between God and the world, and they are unstable in everything they do.
What's that saying to us?
Wow.
A double-minded man is what it says is unstable in all of what it said if you're trying to live a double life, you're asking for the lotto numbers. You're asking how do I need to deal these cards, or how do I need to do this or that? How do I use this to get money through my business? It's double-minded. You got to stay focused on godly things. When you're asking for godly wisdom, you got to stay focused on godly actions, right? Item number 9.
Believers who are poor have something to boast about, for God has honored them.
Verse 9, it says, "Let the brother of low degree rejoice in that he is exalted."
Mine says Christians who are poor should be glad, for God has honored them.
All right. Now, what does verse 10 say there, buddy?
But the rich in that he is he is made low, because as the flower of the grass he shall pass away.
All right, now those two kind of work together. One of them talking about the poor, the brother of low degree, the one that's low financially, but in that he is exalted. How is he going to be exalted? What does that say there? What does yours say about he is exalted?
Christians who are poor should be glad, for God has honored them.
They've been honored. They're not necessarily going to get more financial stability or richer, but he's going to have more confidence in God and in godly matters. He's going to be exalted in godly matters. But the rich, what does that say? Let the rich.
And those who are rich should boast that God has humbled them. They will fade away like a little flower in the field.
But those that are rich will be made low if they go to bragging about all stuff. And we got such short time, even a rich guy is going to fade away fast. So he's going to have to, it's how we act and how we ask, and then how we treat what God gives us. All right, now Autumn, read verse 11.
The hot sun rises and the grass withers. The little flower droops and falls, and its beauty fades away. In the same way, the rich will fade away with all their achievements.
So he's still talking about the rich there in verse 11, right? And if you, no matter how rich you are, you've got the same road to go down that the poor man does. You're going to die in a short period of time. And when you do, then we're not read about it there, but all the things that you've done is going to actually fade away. So it's how we ask, and then it's applying how we ask, and that's when you ask for wisdom and you apply the wisdom under the discernment and guidance of the Holy Spirit. It's really simple. All you have to do is think a prayer. Lord, help me. What do I do? And then, Lord, what do you mean? What does the scriptures tell me? What do you want me to do? And then we have to put action to that. Over there where it says, even so faith, if it hath not works, there in verse 17 of chapter 2, we studied on that. That was part of the introduction. If you don't put action to your wisdom, what good is it? You can study, you can learn, you can do everything, But if you don't do something with it, then what's the reason? So if God knows that first if he knows your double standard, he knows you're asking for this wisdom for ulterior motives, he ain't gonna give it to you, his wisdom. And then the other, if he knows you're going to do nothing with it, he ain't gonna give it to you. He's got it right there available to you. But when you change your mind and say, okay, Lord, give me your wisdom, and then you put it into action, that under the way that God wants it to be acted on, not personal actions, but godly actions, then that's when that wisdom will grow, and he'll give you another spoonful the next day. When you ask him for some more, he'll give you some more. And wisdom is acquired a little at a time, and godly wisdom is always on a prayer of faith with honest intent, unselfish intent.